If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And now, back to box number 512 with Aeon and the Lioness. Hey, I'm Aeon.
And I'm the Lioness.
And you're listening to box number 512 podcast.
Grown Black trans woman talk, changing your world one conversation at a time.
The show begins now. Hey y'all, welcome to another installment of box number 512 podcast, Grown Black Trans Woman Talk. I am Aeon.
And I'm the Lioness.
So let's get to those life updates. I will start first. First, I want to give my mom, Marsha, a very special happy birthday shout out.
Happy birthday, Mama!
Team Virgo, today is her birthday. I know she is chilling and relaxing as she should be. But I'm happy to bring in another birthday with you. I will be home in Baltimore this weekend so we can do something and have a good time. Life updates with me. A lot is going on. So I have several projects that I'm working on. I just finished a writing project that's in the process of being edited. Applying for some funding for some stuff down the pipeline. I also begin work tomorrow. My first post-law school job, my first attorney job. So I'm excited and nervous. I don't know what to expect, but my extended vacation has come to an end and it's time for me to get back to work. It's time for me to save the world. And more importantly, it's time for me to have some income coming in so
I know that's right.
Pay some of these credit card bills down, girl, because the the struggle is real. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just a lot going on. I'm just busier. I'm busier than ever. I also am trying to get admitted into New York's state bar, so I have an exam that I have to take for that next Thursday. So it's just a lot going on, but I'm just trying to take everything one day at a time. What's going on with you?
Well, before you do that, when you pass the bar, girl, we're going to have to do a little special celebratory shout out for you on the episode. Also, I want to, before I get into my thing, say a big shout out again to Brianna's mom. Shout out to you, ma'am. Thank you for bringing Aeon into the world. And I appreciate you raising her and helping her be the woman that she is today to be on this podcast. So if you do listen, mama, to this shout out, we love you here at Box Number 512 Podcast, and we thank you.
Yes.
But I want to say my week was very, very, very good. So starting out, episode 2 of the Lioness Still Lives podcast was aired, and I was able to have on the illustrious Imani Van Zap. So for our listeners that are co-listeners of both,
your shit,
yes. And she gave an interview about her backstory and her life, and it's hilarious, and all of its kookiness, and the way that it's told, and the way that some of the stories go. And so you guys feel free to tune in and check that out. He's also so the character, the mind behind Imani Van Zap is my chosen son, Eric Dillard, and he produces or manages his persona, Imani, and so I'm supporting him and he's supporting me, and it's all about love and family and support, and I wanted to just give him a shout out as well. And so that's coming up. So then this coming week we'll be airing our live episode of him and me having a conversation. So you guys tune in for that. Also, I had the privilege this week I want to give a special to attend an event that was very powerful. I want to give a special shout out to Dwayne Crowder and a Vision for Hope trans housing program here based in Atlanta, Georgia. They are a housing program that is doing a lot of great things in community. There's actually a trans house here in Atlanta that it's essentially kind of a dorm for the girls that actually provides professional Dwight from the Housewives. Do you remember Dwight?
Mm-hmm.
He actually runs the salon at the facility, A Vision for Hope, or his staff. He actually stocked the salon and did all of the equipment that's in there, and then he also has staff that comes and services the girls. And so at this event that we had hosted, that was hosted this previous week, it was so many girls that came out in the Atlanta community. Shout out to Dee Dee Shambly. Shout out to Lynn Diana Prince. Shout out to all of the girls. Shout out to Courtney. I forget your last name, coordinator. Trina Monroe Dupree on Facebook. Shout out to all of the girls. Justine Ingram. All of the girls. Natalia Dupree. Jada Gramillion, all of the girls that showed up. It was very powerful to be in the room with such great people. The energy was great. The vibe was great. We did socially distance. They did a great job of providing facilities for us to protect ourselves, but we were able to take a beautiful photo shoot, which I'm sure you guys, for those of you who follow us on our social media platforms, that you saw. It was a wonderful time, sis. And to be honest, I cannot wait until the world opens up so we can get that conference energy, girl, because that's what it gave. It gave conference energy. So you know that like everybody came with like excited to be there. Everybody came wanting to connect and reconnect and talk about stuff. And it wasn't really I didn't experience any type of shade, any type of tea at all. And that was just powerful. And there were so many photographs that were posted that I hope come out that aren't in the main photos out right now. I think the photographer has to take time to go through them, but girl, it was an epic event. Shout out to my sister Toya, who also came but missed the big photo shoot. I want to give her a shout out. She was there as well, and we took some wonderful sister photos. So it was just wonderful, and I'm just very grateful for that opportunity. So my week was wonderful, girl.
That was really good. It kind of, when I saw the picture, it kind of made me miss also the conference setting. And being
Yeah.
able to be around like other trans people, because it feels like that was a lifetime ago. And I really draw energy from being around other trans people, so I'm really happy that you got to experience that and that it was a positive event.
Now, it was a lot going on that weekend. They had a brunch, and then they had another event and another thing. But girl,
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a whole 4-day process, I believe. But I will say that just the event I did was great. But COVID is still real, and while we
Yes.
were trying our best to social distance, you know how it goes. And so I just, I was doing my best to kind of, do, because really social distancing is what you make it. So I wanted to support. I wanted to be in it, but girl, I had to get back to my house immediately, girl, because no, ma'am.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess before we get to, we have a couple of topics for today, but before we get to that, I just want to remind you guys, please, please, please make sure you guys are rating us on Apple Podcasts and writing reviews. Just make sure that you're doing that. Also, make sure that you're telling people about our podcast. I feel like we have like a core audience of listeners, and we're definitely trying to grow and expand our platform, because nobody does what we do. And I feel like our podcast is a really, really good podcast. So just encouraging you guys to make sure that you are rating and reviewing us, because they really do matter. And I really do enjoy reading a lot of the reviews that you guys leave on Apple Podcasts. So I just want to make sure you guys do that.
And I also, before we go into our topics, want to say, coming soon, there will be a conversation. And, I have the privilege of knowing her as a person, and I have the privilege of really being allowed as a part of her tribe and a member of her circle of influence. But the Aeon, the illustrious Aeon, will also be an upcoming guest on the Lioness Still Lives podcast. She's got a lot going on now, so it's hard to get her down scheduling wise. But y'all, please stay tuned for that interview because I think Aeon has a wonderful story that I think is deserving to be held. She's a girl that has, like all of us, lived a life, but she's also taken the things in her life. And when life gave her lemon, she made lemonade, bitch, and the lemonade just gets sweeter and sweeter. And so, as you go to take this bar, sis, I'm just so excited and proud of you, and I just can't wait to have you on as a guest on my show as well.
Thank you. I can't wait so I can tell my story. And
Yeah.
yeah, because I really feel like I haven't been able to like really tell my story. So I'm just honored that I'll be able to do it with you first.
Oh, well, sis, I'm excited. And so hopefully we can get that scheduling done soon. But I know you busy, girl, and I know you got so I'm not even gonna even bother you till after this bar shit. But girl, I want you, girl.
Yes. Yes.
Uh-huh.
So I'm gonna let you introduce this first topic because you were really passionate about this. So I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, sis. So shout out to Michaela Soul. She has her
One
own
of our supporters.
one of our supporters, one of our big supporters, and also someone that I know themselves has a platform. So if you want to follow her and find her, it's Michaela Soul on Facebook. She also has a show that she does. I can't remember the name of the show now, Michaela. You're gonna have to forgive me. But I know that she has her own show that is a Facebook Live show that she does, and so you guys tune in for that. Well, Michaela today, she had a conversation that she sparked, and it started out about, well, I'm actually on the thread, and so let me, her question was her query to community was, why didn't the trans community support Malik Yoba again? I need to understand. And she had a lot of opinions about about what our role is in community in supporting the men that support us. And it was a very rousing conversation. So for those of you who are her friend, go to her page, like the post, and feel free to comment. She's one of those people that encourages conversation, even if you don't agree with her. And I love that about her. And I feel like that's why I have the permission here, because I know that about her, to just give my opinion and to use her as an example, or this post. So it's been a year since, or at least a little around a year since Malik Yoba's coming out. And for me, in answering her question, I'm all about supporting people that are in support of community. And in that thread, of course, it's still very divided. There are still some girls that, because of allegations that were lobbied against him, are always going to never want to see his face. And that's cool. And then there's another school of girls that I believe their issue with him, and I think I'm a part of this school, is that there has not been done enough, either beforehand or now, even after his coming out, to reach out to community, to connect with leadership and community, and to do the work of learning about us and how to love us and what support we actually need, rather than you ham-fistedly offering your mansplainish way of you talking about your own experience without including the real lived experience of those you claim to love. And for me, the reason why I don't think that it's our responsibility to go out of our way to support him at this juncture is because, while I do know, just from people that know him, that there's some things that he's trying to do behind the scenes, there is yet to be this kind of support that I would expect from a man that says, I love these people. And when I say support, I mean Facebook posts talking about the changes in, the way that we've been labeled, as far as, the health and human services, and the way the HUD policies have changed. The way, because part of it is, if you're going to be the celebrity that wants to be the light, it's actually using your light to reflect the issues that other people are trying to ignore. So him coming out and saying you like us is just not enough for me. I need to see an action plan that includes you connecting with us and talking about why you love us, because beyond the
and connecting with actual Black trans women.
Black
I'm
trans
just going to
women.
say that.
Yes, no,
Sorry.
and that's real. Because when I say us, I'm talking about the issues of the underprivileged parts of the community, the parts of the community that you really are speaking for when you say you're speaking for us, and that's the Black part of us.
The dark-skinned Black trans women.
The women that don't have the ability and the proximity to whiteness and or European standards of beauty to be acceptable, to be pretty on TV. You know, shout out to the Carmen Carreras and those girls of the world. And this is not a direct jab at her, but it is telling to me that beyond his relationship with her and beyond some of the relationships that he's had already previously before he came out, he has not done the work, in my opinion, beyond connecting. Now, I do know, and I want to speak truth, I do know that he's connecting behind the scenes to the larger trans amorous men movement by participating in their conversations and what they're discussing. But I also know that that a lot of those men in that movement, particularly one of the leaders of that group and movement, Troy Kennedy, they are doing the work in community. And I feel like, even though, you know, you may disagree, some people may have even disagreed with me interviewing him. I know that they're, you know, all of these men come with their baggage, but what I'm about is about people's evolution. And for me, Malik yet has done the work for me to visually see that an evolution has taken place to garner all of the support. And I feel like this speaks to the larger thing with Black women, where we're required to uphold people that aren't upholding us, because that's what a good woman's supposed to do. And it's like, until I see Malik Yoba, this Black man who legions of Black women, including Black trans women, held up on a pedestal, use that pedestal to uplift Black trans women, the women he says he loves, then I will feel like I am going to go out of my way to support him. And my platform as the Lioness, my Lioness Still Lives podcast, that's what that platform is really for me, is to have conversations with people that may have problematic issues with them, but to give them an opportunity and the community an opportunity to engage in difficult conversation and get to the other side. And so I would be welcoming to him if I saw that there was an effort, a minimal effort. But at this point, it's almost like it feels like, because he's mad at a fraction of the community that weren't supportive of him, he's hesitant to want to support all of the community. And in that thread, there were a lot of different opinions being brought up about like, what should he be required to do, and that he's lost money and resources. We didn't cause him to lose money. The community did not cause him to lose money.
Like, you were already on the decline.
We don't have access to the funding to control your money and resources. You're just unfortunately an unfortunate, casualty in a larger war against people trying to police trans lives and bodies and our existence and commodify it. And when they can't, they vilify it and demonize it, and the people that love us. So he's not exempt. He didn't go through some extra special thing that other men don't go through when they come out about things like this. What he did face that was different was being, I guess, accused of an allegation from a community member. And I'm not someone that gets into the allegation part of it, because I don't know what did or didn't happen. I know that I don't think that the person that, this is just my opinion, and this is not naming names, but I question the credibility of the individual that brought the allegations, which is why I'm willing to hear his side of the story. But you got to be willing to give it, boo. And right now, radio silence, a year later, a year without you really, really talk, one of the bloodiest years in trans history, where we've already reached the death toll from murder that we had the whole previous year. And I just don't feel like he's doing enough to communicate as a man that wants the light and wants attention, because you didn't do it privately. You didn't tell your family first, according to what's being said. I don't know if you did or not, but I'm saying you didn't do this privately. You did it very publicly. You did it with a freestyle. I want to hear your freestyle, Malik Yoba, about our lives, about our health disparity issues, about the discrimination that we're facing. If you want the light, get the light. And if you want to talk to somebody, come and see me. But right now, what I was trying to convey to Michaela in that thread was, we got to support people that's willing to, because if we create space for them at the table, they need to bring something to eat. And in this case, Malik Yoba isn't even bringing paper plates to the table, bitch. And like, so then why are we going out of our way to make sure he eats?
Girl, paper plates, girl, he just not coming, period, girl.
Bitch, he paid the invitation to the
right,
room.
he threw it in the trash. I had my run-in with Malik Yoba like a couple months ago. I can't remember. Raquel had posted some, Raquel Willis, big figure in the trans community.
Shout out to Raquel.
Put
She
something
came out of Atlanta, by the way. I got to rep Atlanta girls. Go ahead.
She put something on her page. I can't remember exactly what it was. If I had to take a guess, I think it had to do something with trans violence and how trans amorous men, like it had to do something with how trans amorous men aren't stepping up and how a lot of the perpetrators of violence against us tend to be Black men. And he commented under the post, and like it was so self-serving, like, well, when I tried to come and say something, y'all attacked me and y'all are not right, and y'all and after,
I remember that he was very speaking about us as if we're one person, bitch.
Right. And after me, Raquel and myself collected him so fiercely that he had to delete the comments, because it's just like, you've learned nothing throughout all of this. And the thing why I'm over it is because you coming out or whatever, that shouldn't have been like a one-time conversation. Like if you're really committed to the movement or you're really committed to change and liberation, it should be a constant conversation. It should be a constant evolution of the conversation. Right. Like it shouldn't have just stopped and end at those 2 interviews, because there's so much more to talk about. And a year later, and I don't feel like for him that he's in a better situation than he was when he first came out. And like you said, it's about your intentional engagement and interaction with the community, and not just for it to serve your purpose or for you to, because the vibe that I get from him and his reasoning from doing it is, it's really only to serve his own agenda. It's really not to, and to serve your agenda to possibly get access to a certain type of trans woman that you like. You're not really caring about the type of trans women that are being murdered, the dark skin, not exotic, regular looking Black girls with the broad noses and the big lips and the dark skin.
You feel like so you feel like there's definitely an appearance aspect to his lack of concern, because now I don't know if we have the evidence to support that he.
No. I'm not saying for sure, but circumstantially, it's just like why are we not coming out for those girls? Why is it, or why is it the exotic Latin? I'm just asking a question, but back to my point, it's just like, it's about you. It's not about lifting up the girls that have the most to lose. So like I said, I'm kind of glad that this happened, because in our community, as far as like the Black trans woman, I feel like we had to start having a conversation amongst ourselves of not accepting the bare minimum.
You know what, sis? And that's actually my exact feeling. Like, so then I want to push back on the narrative that all of these men have, that they're doing us a grand favor by being honest about something that they've been lying about to everyone in their lives all this time, when we have lost everything for our truth. You don't get to make me feel like you're doing me a favor because I'm living in truth and you chose to live in darkness for a period. And now that because you want to step into the light, I should rejoice and throw you a party when I'm out here living my truth and willing to lose it all. See, what's really unfortunate is that I think these men think that we should be grateful as if we haven't lost the same or greater. And it's really fucked up, because it really plays into this notion that we somehow, because it's a burden to want to love us, in the way society treats them away, that somehow we should feel bad. And in return, we should go out of our way to accommodate a man just for being able to say he likes us. And to me, I am past the point where I'm worried about who like me and who fucking don't. It's what are you doing to support my liberation?
Right. And no
What are you
shade.
doing to support my growth? What are you doing to invest in my community? What are you doing to change the circumstances for the next generation? That to me is the covering of a man that I want. You just liking me is not enough.
And it's no shade, like he's doing the best because I still follow him. You're going on live every other week having these conversations about like Black issues, and that stuff is important. But you have white people giving up their platforms, to give it to Black people, to give it to trans people, to take over their lives and have conversations because they know the power of their reach as a privileged person. You have not done that yet, and you're intimately connected to the community. When are you going to do that?
And it's an insult to sis for him to propagate the notion that some girls didn't reach out to him, because I happen to be one of the women that reached out to him in the middle of the storm. And I'm saying this now publicly because a year later I was expecting him to do more, but I was someone that reached out to him in the storm and let him know that when he is ready, that there are parts of the community that would be willing to have a conversation once he's able to get past the process of the media hype of it all. And what I encouraged was for him to go grassroots and actually look for mentors in community that could help guide him on this path, not your favorite porn star or your favorite girl or your favorite, you know what I'm saying, your favorite date, like actual girls that are doing the work of trying to liberate and free community.
That don't want nothing from you sexually.
Don't want nothing from you, that are willing to have the conversation. And see, this is where I do believe that there's a call to arms for him. So this isn't a read for you, Malik Yoba. This is a call to arms because you're still alive and you still have the opportunity to evolve as a person. And we're telling you with our words that we want you to say and do more. You are not someone that we want to see die. We don't want your destruction as a community. Yes, you will always have dissenting opinions. And I hope you didn't have the hubris to believe that you are exempt from what every public figure goes through with allegations and all of that when they do come out about something like this. So if you really, really are serious, beyond the behind the scenes documentaries or whatever it is, because I know a lot with celebrities, there's always something that they're working for themselves. Beyond what you are doing to promote yourself and your creative content, what are you doing to support and encourage and uplift the workers of the movement that you stand on the backs of? Because the words, even the language that you use, were community. We had to fight to be just even identified respectfully and treated in media. So you're now you're standing on the backs of work of the girls. And what we encourage you to do is to honor that work and service by consulting those people as you're moving about life, so that your story, your arc of your story isn't the man that came out, had allegations and disappeared. We want to see you win, but we want to win too. And we want to invest in you, but only if you're willing to invest in us.
Right. But until you get it together, honey,
no, ma'am,
we gonna be on you, girl. Cause like at this point, it's not a game. Like come November 3rd, if Trump is still in office, guess the fuck what? It's still going to be intense for Black trans women. So like you got to get your shit together, especially if you want to get the respect that you think you're owed in community, which you don't get respect.
You're not owed a damn thing. Right. I'm not owed a damn thing. Brianna's not owed a damn thing. We have earned our respect by the works that have made room for us.
And no shade, it was multiple trans women with smart minds that were reaching, and I know a lot of them that were talking to you behind the scenes, that were really privately trying to help you through this. And you paid them and did whatever you wanted to do, and that's why you ended up in the situations that you ended up in.
And see,
Like,
now with that additional context, I know that I'm not the only person now that you said that. And I knew that going in, but I'm just saying with this additional context, I want our listeners to see this is not us beating up, because I know we have male listenership as well and Black men that support us. This is not us saying that we reject him. What we're saying is, or that we reject the courage that it took for you to come out or do whatever. What we're saying is that's great. That took a lot of courage on your part, but that is still self-motivated, because now you're living in your truth, and hopefully that makes you feel better. But the action that we need from the men in our lives is to step up as supporters. If you want to be a man and treated with all the rights there to ascertain, that means you link arm in arm and you become our covering. And as brothers, you go out and you preach the good news and the truth about our lived experience and what we really are to this world. Because if you truly care for us beyond your sex and what your loins enjoy, then you would be invested in us as human beings, and that would be shown through your works. Because again, you're not owed respect. You earn it through your works.
So grow from this, Malik. And let one of the girls that have a platform that's doing something in community, let them do a live with you. Expose them to your audience. Bring them into your life.
Just to make it clear, I want to do a personal invitation to Malik Yoba. If you want to have a safe space to be able to have a conversation with someone that is going to approach it from an unbiased point of view, but that is going to ask you questions that will help community understand you better as a man, as a human being, and what your motivations and intentions were, and what you want to get from this coming out and going forward, then I would love to host you on the Lioness Still Lives podcast. And I want to make that personal. I know our listenership here is larger. I'm just building, but I want to extend that personally, because maybe he needs to hear on a platform that hopefully somebody will share with him that there are girls who are going to have the conversation with you and will do it in a respectful way. And I am one of them. The Lioness Still Lives podcast would love to have you.
The thing that's been burning up the interwebs, at least for the past day, Andrew Gillum, former Florida gubernatorial candidate, just came out as bisexual. So just a little backstory. Andrew is a Black cis man. He was formerly like the mayor of Tallahassee, and he ran for governor. What was that, in 2018? He ran for governor, and he narrowly lost. Which spoke to the issues of voter suppression and all of that. So a couple of months ago, like in March, it had to be March, there was a big scandal. Pictures of him were released of him naked, laying naked on the floor, passed out. And the quote unquote story was that he was in Miami for a wedding or for some event, and that he got drunk and he passed out. But he was in a room with two men, one of those men who happened to be an escort. So, it was a Black man.
There were a lot of implications.
Right. Black man, with white escort. And there were also rumblings throughout his career that he may or may have not been queer. Or, there were those rumblings in the air. So when this happened, it was a big news story. It was a big fall from grace from him, because he was somebody that was who people were talking about as a potential vice presidential pick, or somebody who probably could one day run for president of this country. He had a very promising political
because he almost became governor of Florida, and there's a lot of people that to this day believe it was stolen from him.
Right, just like it was stolen from Stacey Abrams.
We were a heartbeat away from that being a governor going through that scandal, I think was the real tea.
Right. So it was a very big story earlier this year. Then it kind of went away, and he went to rehab, and Nobody was really talking about it. So he appeared on Tamron's Hall show. This was her premiere week. Her new season started, and he was the first major story where he talked about how he battled with alcoholism, and that him losing the election was really hard for him, and that he went to rehab, had to deal with his alcoholism. He also talked about himself being bisexual, and his wife his wife supports him, and how she knew. And so black man, black public figure, public figure that's married to a black cis woman that ran for Florida governor, who is bi. Y'all know that was a big it was a big internet story, a big media story, and a lot of people had a lot of things to say. I shared it yesterday. I didn't have anything to say about him coming out as bisexual, but I have a lot of thoughts. So
No. I want you to give your thoughts, sis. Because I feel like your thoughts will neatly bounce off of mine, and then we'll have room to compare, because I do agree with a lot of what you said in pre-production, and I think it'd be good if you carry on from here and then I jump in.
Right. So first, let me start here. I'm not here to debate whether he is really gay and he's just using being bisexual as a scapegoat because he doesn't want to be quote unquote fully gay and quote unquote face the wrath of being excluded for being a fully gay person, and it wouldn't be able to. I think people, when you say bisexual, particularly with men, particularly with black men, I feel like a lot of black people have this idea that if a man is bisexual, he has to be like hyper masculine in order to still attract and be with cis women.
And it also means too in our community, and yes, I completely agree. And it's also, I hate that toxic notion too that gayness has a look, but then also that bisexual people are lying. Like the idea that it's not a real thing. Like there aren't people in this world that like both, and that's impossible. That's crazy to me. But go ahead.
Right. So for me, just based on my life experience and me, I think tend to prefer men that are on the spectrum, or men that are bi or queer or whatever. But there are a lot of men who you would think are quote unquote gay or quote unquote sweet or whatever that are still having sex with women, or that are still able to pull women. So I'm not quick to say, oh, he's really gay because of his mannerisms, or I just think that that's lazy. And I think that bisexuality does not have a look. And when black men are bisexual or black men are queer, that doesn't inherently mean that they're hyper masculine, and it doesn't mean all the time that they lose access to women. So I just feel like that is a lazy stereotype. Mm-hmm. And I'm not here to really interrogate him on his sexuality or try to say if it is or if it, because at the end of the day, it's not any of my business. He said what he said, and also we have to give people space. If he 5 years down the line, if he decides to identify as gay because the bisexual label doesn't fit him, I feel like we as a society, especially the black community, have to work on giving people space to work through that. Because maybe he might come out as gay later, but we shouldn't force him to pick now or try to close people into boxes of what they should be or how they should identify. I think that's really late. 2, from watching the interview, I don't think he told the full story. I don't think he told the full story in reference to
What do you feel like was missing?
Did your wife know that you were going to Florida? Why you were going to Florida? That to me, I didn't feel like I got any answers on that, because to me, him being bi is not as far as you wanting to be a public figure and be in public office. You being bi or queer, that's not going to make me not want to vote for you. What's going to make me not want to vote for you is if you had an affair on your wife. So I don't feel like that was answered. Also, sweetie, as somebody who is an active participant in hookup culture, Mr. I'm not like, why were you going in the room? Or not even why you were going in the room. It's okay to say I was going in the room to have sex. Well, I just ended up in, like, how did you end up in the room and you're in the room with your friends and you butt ass naked? That just doesn't make sense.
And to give context, also there were other photos that showed the room and the way the bed looked and the staining on the sheets and the like.
As somebody that's part of the queer community that engages in queer sex and that knows about some of the stains that can happen and some of the colors that you could see without getting graphic, like, girl, I'm not going, sis. We're sisters and friends. I'm not getting drunk and going in the room with you and TA a girl, and I'm just going to be naked in the room with y'all. That's just not going to happen if we're friends. If we were hooking up.
Right, because then you also have to add that chemsex is a real thing that is prevalent in gay community, and that's sex that involves drugs and or some type of inebriant, and it's supposed to be like a way that escorts advertise services. This man is a known escort who, even according to other people, because you know how other people, when it first came out, were talking about him as a person, is known to be someone that engages in that kind of behavior. So then it is very interesting that you're now saying, or your intent was not to do what we know you went to do, because why would it matter that you come out as bisexual? See, like it's all unpacking. Like, see, it's unraveling for me that you feel the need to come out as bisexual when that's not something you felt we needed to know before. And if you're, well, go ahead, girl. I have my opinion, but go ahead.
Yeah. So like, my thing is this. Like, I feel like yes, you took a step, but I feel like he kind of missed the opportunity to tell the story in a way, or to tell just the truth, so he would never have to circle back to this again. Because you're like still refusing to answer certain details, and it's very clear that he still wants to be a politician. He still wants to be in that world. And zooming out, looking at the bigger picture, even though this was really fucked up, it's not like he killed anybody. It's not like he stole people's money. It's not like he didn't do anything, in my opinion, that was just so bad and horrible that I think he should just be excommunicated from politics.
I agree.
I don't feel that. But being a politician, being a public figure where we kind of have to trust you, and there should be some sort of transparency. Like, your inability to leave out key parts of the story, it's just like, why even do the interview in the first place? Because like I said, for me, the question was not a matter of how you sexually identified. The two biggest red flags to me is, did your wife know what you were going to Miami to do? And 3, why was you in the room? And the fact that you either you can't answer it or you don't want to answer it, to me, shows that you are still ashamed about it, and that you're still ashamed about it, and you still need to work through that before you can, come to public prominence. But then also, I kind, I'm giving myself space to feel multiple ways. Being somebody like, I just have the question: if Andrew Gillum would have been publicly out as a black bisexual man back when he was just Andrew Gillum from Florida State University trying to get a seat on the Tallahassee Council, would he have been able to have the same?
I thought he went to FAM. He went to Florida State.
Well, he went to one of them schools in Tallahassee. You know what? I think it was FAMU. I think it was FAMU. But like, would he have had the same access and opportunities as a openly queer black person? Would he have had the same access or the same ability to ascend? And if the answer is no, I think we as a black community really have to interrogate ourselves and ask, why is that? Why is that? Like I said, I'm not getting into whether he tricked his wife into marrying him or what. Like, to me, that doesn't matter. Looking at the whole picture, it's like, why did he feel that he had to hide this? And, why do a lot of people feel like they had to hide it? And would he have been able to really get as far as quick as he did? Had he been open about the fullness of who he was. And I feel like we as black people, we really have to sit and again, I don't know if he was on the DL, but it kind of brings up this tension with DL culture, because I saw a lot of people, particularly gay people, that had a lot of negative stuff to say, that are like, well, we don't support DL people, DL men, and he can just being real negative. But to me, like, really sitting back and thinking about it is really not black and white, because we have a lot of LGBT people that have like so many ambitions. They have so many ambitions, like economic ambitions, professional ambitions, and it begs the question: if you're in a position where you can like play the game and pass for cis het and go as far as you can go, like, would you have done the same thing? Would you have done the same thing? So, sis, I'm going to turn it over to you.
So, this is I look at this from a very pragmatic point of view. This is the Lioness, I feel like, really looking at something outside of my personal opinion and just trying to look at it objectively. So here goes. I think, looking at this situation objectively, that Andrew Gillum's failing, that I can see visually with my eyes, is being reckless, engaging in behavior that caused nude photos, sex scandal, drug scandal, public international news coverage of the scandal, rehab, and now him rebringing this back into public light, are all indicative of someone that really, really, really wants to be in the light, in the limelight. Because even I honestly believe that there's no way he didn't think that such reckless behavior would catch up with him. I think he was honestly under the influence of, like you say, it probably was alcohol and or drugs. And I do believe that he needed that rehab visit to reset him in life, because he'd gotten far too comfortable with the graces that I feel like life gave him. And when I say graces, the reason why I stated FAM earlier, FAMU as the institution, and I know that is because I know people, and I happen to be in a circle of friends with people that know him, that have met, that know him and his wife and her family, and that have been closer to this couple. And this man has been gay or I will not say gay, excuse me for using that word. This man has been bisexual the entire time. His wife had full knowledge. And I feel like that's important to notate here, because I do believe that because no one is required to know anyone's sexuality. I do believe that there is space, and space should be held in the community for people who don't think it's important for their sexuality to be known by everybody. Yes, I know that there are social issues and stigma that play a part in the reasons why, but whatever your reasons why, we're not required to know what you do sexually. Even as a public figure, that is not a requirement. I think that outing culture, I think the notion that you have to come out, while it is important to have visual examples, everybody does not have to come out and tell their story, in my opinion, to be perceived as valid or a supporter of that community. It does matter how you act. It does matter how you vote. It does matter if you're putting things in progress to hold back community. But on its surface, your sexuality is your business. To that point, his wife had full knowledge this entire time that this man was bisexual. And she alluded to such in some of her things that she said in the interview, and some of the things some of the subliminals she's been putting on Facebook or on her social media platforms. She knows her man. And she was still okay with marrying him, having children with him, building a life with him, and allowing him to have his sexuality be his and hers be hers. Because we're assuming that this couple, because they live because they're married and that they are both Christian, that they don't have that they're upholding this old antiquated values of what family looks like. Family, love, particularly relationships and sex lives, are individual for individual people. Some relationships, and we all know people that have engaged in marriages. For those of us that have like married circles, we have our married friends that we know that they have understandings, whether it be on a trip, whether it be at a party, whether it be we have a threesome together, whether it be you do your thing and I do mine and we don't talk about it. There are a lot of couples that are navigating healthy, successful relationships where they don't get their sex just from each other. And I want to hold space for those couples now, because I feel like part of the judgment on Andrew Gillum is in the notion that he somehow was lying this entire time. And I don't think that this woman, this strong, educated Black woman herself, would be with someone with what I know and what we know ended up being his behavior after things began to leak, after his scandal happened and we saw the media, then the friends start coming forward and the escort starts to speak and all that. So what we do know is that there were more than a few people that knew that this man was bisexual. And I don't think that he was required to tell the whole world that in order for us to respect him. The problem enters into the equation for me, again, with the choices that he made and whether or not those choices respected the offices that he said he wanted, the place that he had in community, and whether it respected his wife. That's more of what I have a concern with. And so I believe his drug use and him having to hide it led him to make choices that were disrespectful to the position he is in life and disrespectful to his family. So for me, it's more the scandal. For me, it's the nudes. For me, it's you laying in your vomit. For me, it's it's the fact that this messiness now is something that our children will read about you. This will be a permanent footnote on my life as a spouse. If I were his wife, this is how I will be feeling. This will be a permanent note on my life also as a spouse because of something we agreed to that you told me you had under control. And for me, I feel like what I saw in that interview is a couple trying to do their best to seem a united front because they both want to still be in the limelight, but not wanting to give so much information that now there are parts of the stories that can be dissected legally and then later be brought back against him in some type of civil litigation or in some type of, just, because the finders of fact are out there. The internet community will find what the fuck is the truth, bitch. And you have to be careful what you say. And so I do think that he should, in my opinion, and this is why I considered the interview earlier as a mistake, I wouldn't have given an interview at all. Like, we have forgotten.
If you're not going to tell the whole story,
don't give an interview.
Don't,
because now it gives us more to pick apart, more to
I still have questions.
Now, and he's emboldening the people that do know the real story to leak it. Because there are more than one person that knows that real story. Somebody took the photo, sis. Like, somebody was there. And I believe that encounter was set up, to be real, because I don't understand how such photos, like a crime scene was taken of him unconscious on the floor. Like, that's somebody that, this is a deeper thing. And I think
and they knew to take pictures of the sheets, bitch. That was shady.
They know we needed to know that them stains was present, bitch. It had got real, bitch. Somebody got pissed.
Bitch, we got to the red meat that night, bitch.
Yes, that second wall, bitch. Oh, wow. He got gammed. But to that point, I think that the focus needed not be on him in this moment. I feel like his coming out and this process is ill-timed. And I think that if he would have let it be, we could have let it be. Let your work speak for you. Start getting active more in community. And then when you're at a place where you have other things to talk about, you bring up the fact, yes, I'm bisexual, my wife stands with me, and leave it at that. But don't start giving info and then not give all of it, because then now you're emboldening people who know the truth to leak it, and they will. And I just think that was just PR purposes, it just wasn't a good idea. I think he did this as a vanity thing to try to clear his name. And in politics, I think vanity in this place has no place in politics, because if you notice, a lot of people fall based on them trying to uphold an image. And like, he could have just let this be. Now, I agree wholeheartedly, sis, with your sentiments about how bisexuality is something that is seen as sullied, is seen as something as having your cake and eating it too, is seen as a selfishness and inability to pick a side. And I think that is fucking selfish as a world, because if you believe that you're straight, for those people who are straight out there, I'm a trans woman but identify as a straight woman. I like men primarily and exclusively, but that doesn't mean that if I want somebody to accept my identity as a straight person, that I get to question or judge or have opinions about other people's. Because just as strong as I am in my attraction for men, I know that there are people that are just as strong in their attraction for women. I know that there are gay men out there that have very strong attractions for men. But what I also know, because I'm a human, and as a trans person, I have encountered a lot of bisexual individuals in my life. I know that that's a real thing.
Right.
That there are real people in this world that are able to love. There are people that are pansexual, that can just love energies, that are attracted to individuals and not genitalia or people per se. They love who loves them, who they vibe with. It's a connection. I do believe also, though, that people can be genuinely bisexual and like men and women, and can do both. And I don't think that it's always tied to infidelity. Now, in this case, because he's married and we know what them sheets look like, we know that if they didn't have an agreement, he definitely cheated on her. But I know that they had an agreement. And I can say that with clarity, that this woman is not unknowing. So then, to me, it matters less. And that's the only thing I disagree with what you said, sis. It matters less to me that she knew what he went to Florida for. Because, girl, she knows that he gets hit in when he can. Matter of fact, I know a lot of couples that are in this situation. The arrangement is I don't want to know. So just understanding how and seeing how that can work and seeing it work for married couples around me, there a lot of times you don't want to know the gory details of how your partner is getting their sexual needs met if y'all have an arrangement. But like the Will and Jada situation, don't bring me no entanglement. And I feel like this was his bad behavior put his wife in a media entanglement that they're now having to explain their way out of, and it put their children and their family in a place where now they're being having to carry a burden that dad put on them. And so I believe he made bad choices, and I believe that's why I judge him as someone that needs to have a little more evolution before you even think about politics. That's why I judge him as someone
yeah, I don't feel like I still feel like he has shame that he needs to work through still.
And even that, not even that, like rehab is not just something where you're fixed, bitch.
Right.
So if you were so drugged out that you got or alcoholic or whatever it is, that you lost control of your faculties, ended up in a room you didn't know how to be in, ended up naked with pills and bottles and drugs and vomit and those sheets all around you, and that happened and you didn't know because you were drunk or inebriated or it had gotten that bad, then I really don't think you need to be no way near no camera right now. You need to be focusing on your healing journey, and to be honest, this ain't been enough time, bro, for me to believe anything but covering your ass.
No, it's not enough time. Do I think he could get back in politics? Yes. Do I think he needs to start anytime soon? No. I personally feel like you have some more soul searching you need to do. Yeah, I just feel like it's too soon. Not to say that, oh, you're on punishment. No, you really you spent was he in his early 40s? You spent your and let's say if he was out privately to his family and friends. I didn't know that you were bisexual. Like publicly to the regular layperson, people didn't know that you were bisexual, and now that you have publicly identified that as bisexual, now you're going to move through life and you're really going to experience what it's like, i.e. people's ignorance.
Well, he's going to be forced. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to, and this is the ignorance of our Black community, unfortunately, is that we have drank the Kool-Aid, and he will not be supported like he was by Black people simply because he's not bisexual. And that is the real reality. And that's probably why him and his wife had an agreement where they didn't want this to be something that everyone needed to know.
Right. So you had spent like 40 something years, interacting in the world under the guise that you were just 100% straight man, and 40 something years versus only a couple of months versus only a day with you publicly coming out. To me, that's not enough time. Like you're still like in the transformational process of you now publicly living in life, and no shade, some of your relationships are going to change and you have to like emotionally deal with that.
And another real reality too, sis, is even though I'm going to be annoyed at the performative LGBT support all of a sudden, don't get me wrong, I do believe he was always liberal and very supportive. But what I mean is, as a community now, the expectation is that you fully embrace this person and that, we are family. And it's just like, yeah, we are. And I support you and I want you to win. However, I hope that it's not this surface performative way of like engaging with community, because you're trying to make up for the votes you lost from the Black people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I really want him to fully lean into this and be an advocate for a bisexual community. Because if you've done it, then that means your intention is for people to know. So you use that to be a good advocate and a real supporter, and not just someone that sits for photo shoots and shows up to Pride. You were doing that anyway. So now you can do it openly, but we want you to like dead ass. We want you to really, really focus on trying to get your best healing more so than trying to get a spotlight, because the LGBT community also don't need drunk leadership.
Right.
And that's no shame. You know, we want you to be healed. We know that healing is a journey. Get you a couple of chips in your pocket from your AA thing before you start talking about you want to be in politics again, honey. Have you even gotten your anniversary chip? Like, I need to know that there's a pattern of consistent healing and you committing to the discipline that is required for one to become truly sober before you think about this kind of level of attention, because otherwise will only be a trigger, because if it was a trigger the first fucking time, it will only be a trigger for you to then relapse if you're now putting yourself back in the public scrutiny again when you really haven't given yourself enough time to heal. So that, more importantly to me, and I think
You gotta heal, because it's going, like, now that you are part of family, people are going to treat you differently just because you bi. And like, it hurts, or it's going to make you angry, and you really have to sit with that feeling now that it's out for real, and that, that's the thing that a lot of people like to run away from, and they like to hide in their cis het privilege. But you either pay on the front end or you pay on the back end, and you're paying on the back end. You're paying on the back end now, because low key, you've been able to get the access, you've been able to get the exposure, you've been able to get into these institutions, so you got to do that, but you got to bypass all of the shit that you have to face when you're young and you're out and you're LGBT and Black, and the wrenches that life throws at you. You got to bypass that. Meanwhile, we had to, like, the process that he's going to have to go through. You and I and other girls like us, we've been trying to work through that through most of our early 20s, 30s, and shit like that.
Hell, so a lot of us, we had to do it before we even began our process. Like, we had to go through the process of figuring this shit out that he's just figuring out now in high school when we were kids. Trying to figure out, like, how do I fully embrace myself or come out or be gay or trans or whatever the beginning part of that step was. We all face this, like, as kids. So it's like, you just came out, you're really a baby in this. And maybe you need to take a minute before you and really sit in it before you try to go for a press ops.
Right. Because it like I said, you're paying on the back end now. So it's worth it to really take the time again away from the spotlight and to really find out who you are now that everybody sees you for who and what you are. And not saying that in a bad way, but seeing you for who and what you are as a bisexual Black man. And what does that really mean to be an open bisexual Black man and politician in the South, in Florida? Like, what does that mean for you, with a wife, with kids and a family? Like, what do these things mean for you now? And I just really think that him and other people in his situation need to really take the time to, like, really find yourself.
Really fast, I just want to add this. So I was also a part of another thread online regarding this issue where someone brought up Niecy Nash, and it was I
think that's a good contrast to this conversation.
Yes, and they were talking about the way she, as a Black woman, was treated. Or because as for those of you who don't know, and I'll give you some context, Niecy Nash, the famous actress and star of the show Claws, became and got married to recently, and we want to applaud that. And she got married to a woman, and she posted the pictures online, and immediately, as people do, they don't know how to mind their fucking business and just be happy. The lines were divided, and people were trying to make points on both sides. Of course, you have your Ashley Hotep folks that were like, oh, and the Black woman, and the Black man, and da-da-da-da, she's bitter and this and that, because, of course, she would have to be to date a woman. So then you had that contingency. But you also had a contingency of gay men that saw Niecy Nash's embracement, and because it happened the same week as Andrew Gillum, they wanted to make the comparison of how when a woman is able to say she's with a woman, how that gets celebrated, and they wanted to say that what's the difference between her and Andrew Gillum. And I just could not fathom how people were making that comparison. One, because and a point that was made was by one of
Well,
my
one,
friends.
Niecy Nash wasn't found with her ass
That part says, but that's the point. The point that my friend was making was that Niecy Nash probably just didn't just discover women yesterday when she came out with this woman in her wedding photos. So then she probably was dealing with women the whole time, and then how was that any different? And the point that it was exactly what you said. The point was Andrew Gillum is not his wife even okay, so even if let's say Niecy Nash was in a situation where she was always bisexual and that wasn't something she felt comfortable telling everyone, but she had an understanding with the men she was with that she was able to have behavior, and she was able to do it with no nudes, no sex scandal, no pool of vomit, and those sheets weren't a part of the picture, and then she did it right. And that's how it's supposed to be done when you have an arrangement with your partner and you're doing something that is non-traditional, but you want to respect the privacy of not just you, but your partner. Gillum did something that included a messy international TV news scandal, a sex scandal, drugs on the floor, like white men. I mean, so many levels. Like it was something that was completely different, and I don't understand why the two are being compared. Now, I get that maybe that there was a conversation to be had around how women's sexuality in general is not taken as seriously, and so then women with other women aren't a threat to men because they believe that other women, because they don't have penises, are not threats. And so then because of that, you hear a lot of rappers and people in the world, and patriarchy says, oh, my girl got a girlfriend, and that's considered attractive because men can still see themselves in that as the object of, like, if I bring my dick in the equation, then it's perfect. And so I do get that there is a way that lesbianism or engaging in homosexual activity between two women, how that is not seen as traumatic as how it is when a Black man says, I'm like men also. And what we do to him, like what they've done to him, well, you're not bisexual, you're really gay. Then it becomes all this other narrative and all these other problems. So I do get that there is a toxic masculinity that is held up, particularly over the heads of Black men, that says that they can't have feelings, emotions, thoughts, variances in their likes, dislikes, or sexuality. That there are a lot of tropes and stereotypes about what a Black man is, and Black men, unfortunately, are being policed by Black women also, who are upholders of this white supremacist notion of what makes a man and what makes an acceptable man, and that doesn't include queer identities or sexualities of any kind. And so I do see that that's a conversation that is important, that was necessary to have. My problem is why would you take Niecy Nash, someone that has not had a scandal, who was just simply getting fucking married, and not be happy for her because you're so busy wanting to make a point about your fave? And what I can't understand, to me, is what the hell is wrong with us as a community that we've gotten so jaded that when we see love, when we see marriage, when we see someone showing something happy, the first thought is, oh, she was probably, y'all know how that is. You know how Hollywood is. They was fucking around. She was probably fucking around. She had 2 husbands. She was probably fucking around on her husbands. And then now she with a woman. She finally being herself, just like how he finally, no, but it's a difference. Because this woman did nothing but go through a journey in life that led to happiness.
And
let's entertain. He has a journey. I'm finish my thought real fast. In this case, he has a journey that he was on, and he made it appear to be happy while lying to the entire world about himself, which is his right. But then he got caught, and a scandal happened, and the two should not meet. Go ahead, sis.
But let's entertain that. What if Niecy Nash was stepping out on her husband? Bitch, she married now. She's married to the person now. If she was stepping out on her husband, we never knew about it. We never heard about it. And guess what? She's married to the woman now. So, like, what is your point? What is your point?
And the assumption is also that the husbands did not know. And like, and that's another part of it. Like, I think that we really need to really question why we care so fucking much about people's private business. Because to be honest, none of this affects the price of tea in China. But in the Andrew Gillum situation, the reason why it's relevant, because I know that there were people like, well, why are we still talking about why is because Andrew Gillum got
He's
on
a
the
fucking
motherfucking
politician.
microphone. And he got on the microphone and said it. He didn't have to do that. He still could have been a private citizen, but he chose the occupation of being of a politician, and he chose to give a fucking interview. So comparing Niecy Nash, someone who is a public figure, but who did not make her love private only to show her wedding, I don't get why we're making it that she's automatically guilty of something because of her bisexuality. Again, that speaks to the internalized phobia that we have, biphobia that we have for people that are bisexual, the idea that there's something inherently suspicious about you liking both. Until there's something to prove that Niecy Nash was out here wilding in these streets, why does her simple bisexuality mean that she was somehow doing something salacious? Like that, even amongst gay people, is something that we need to address as queer community, because it is not okay that bisexual people are not taken seriously, their rights aren't respected the same, and that we try to minimize their opinions and their thoughts and feelings in life by saying you either one or the other, or you really more gay than... No, I do believe that that is a real identity, and in holding that, I don't think it's okay that it's always got to be a, oh, well, what if she was stepping out? Like the idea that you would even bring that up about a random ass woman, you wouldn't do that if Niecy Nash got married to another man. But it's the idea now that she's dating a woman that now we have to make it that, oh, what if she was cheating the whole time? What if she fucking wasn't? Let's assume the best.
Yeah, a lot of people need to work through their biphobia. Me, I don't know. When I have male partners, I know for me, I when I'm on that relationship path and I can, I try to create space for my male partners to talk about all of their experiences, and I ask if they have been with men, and I don't ask in like a self-serving way. For me, I ask in a way because I want to get like a survey of like, what are you into? Or if you're only messing with trans women, what was your journey to getting to trans women? And I'm realistic to know that some trans amorous men or men that are interested in me.
Or trans attracted, not amorous, attracted.
So it's attracted now?
Well, no, it's only attracted. When you say amorous, those are the ones that have decided they're going to love us. So attraction still exists. Like trans attraction doesn't mean you're trans amorous.
Well, men who are interested in me,
I'm saying until they're able to prove that they actually like you. You said like just because you're trans amorous. I'm like, well, you mean like trans attracted because until they actually prove that they want to be in a relationship. And I guess that's why you're asking these questions. I guess I'm thinking.
Well, I don't even ask the questions for a relationship. I just, as somebody who is highly sexual and likes to have good consensual sex where there is no shame in the room. And if you're somebody who was a continuous partner and we're spending time with each other, we're getting to know each other, I want to know. I want to know, have you been with a guy? Or
now for you though, sis, it's not a deal breaker, but I understand that in that answer, it's very complicated for a lot of men, and they will lie because just as quick as you say that, I know 10 other women that would say, you know what, sis, I can't do it.
No. And I understand. Yeah, I understand that. For me, it's not a deal breaker because I don't see you being attracted to men as like a downplay of my womanhood. For me, I just feel like you're somebody that's attracted to different people. Now I know everybody is different, but for me, it's not a deal breaker for me.
So it's not a deal breaker for me either, but the pattern, it does matter. And what I mean when I say the pattern, like I am okay with someone that has had a bisexual experience in their life, or that may be actively bisexual in their life. Although I think, I'm married and my husband is not bisexual. I am okay. I have dated bisexual people before and I was okay with it. However, it was important for me that on the pendulum and the spectrum that is it that the person had been in serious relationship with a woman before me. Like, it was important to me that I was not, that you before me have had experiences, healthy, happy relationship, or not even healthy, but just some type of engagement, or like you had the relationship with a woman that was successful. Yes. Like, if you're a 30-something-year-old man and you approach me and you tell me you're bisexual, but you've never been with a woman before, that still is going to be a deal breaker for me. Not because I'm judging your bisexuality, but it was just important for me that the men that entered my life had been with women and that were comfortable being in a relationship with women, because it is different than being with a man. What I don't want is to be your butch queen in drag, and for you to feel like we're going to have a dynamic that is going to be different than what is comfortable for me as a woman. Does that make sense? Like, it does. Like, I'm not saying that I couldn't have sex with a man that was queer, like extremely queer, and that had only dated gay men. And I guess in your case, you know, because you're saying that a lot, you know, sometimes it's just for hookup purposes, it doesn't matter to you like that. But I know for me, it does matter to me that you like women, and that this isn't, that you prefer women, that not necessarily even that you have to prefer women over men, but that you enjoy and have positive experiences that you can talk about being with women, and that doesn't affect what's going on here. I don't want to be your experiment, because like what we were saying earlier, there are men that on both ends of the spectrum will experiment with trans people because of our dualities and our intersections. So you'll have the straight man that'll come and try to like date us and get to know us, or even just fuck us, because they're just attracted to us. They're trans attracted. And so they just are attracted to what something, and they want to have sex, but they're not necessarily, because we're beautiful creatures and everybody wants us. So you just might just want to engage with me in a physical way, and that's cool and all, but I want to know that you somehow are enjoying this and not experimenting. In the same way, if with women that like us, there are women that will experiment with trans women because we have parts of us that are unique, and they want to have that experience. But gay men also do it, and I don't think we talk about that either. The way in which gay men, if they don't find you sexually attractive, can dismiss you and your experience, and the way gay men use bisexuality as a way to denigrate us and say, well, all I have to do is put on a wig, honey, and I can be you. No, yes, you may have dated Trey that is bisexual that we both fucked, but please believe, honey, I'm a woman, and when he was with me, he saw me as such. But in our community, because we don't even trust bisexual as a real thing, a lot of times there are gay men that will look at our husbands and our men as just gay men like them, or men that are not interested in women, and they don't respect that attraction, because again, even in gay community, we don't trust bisexuality. So I do want to put that into the space too. Like, we got to hold for the bisexuals that it ain't that you can like girls and guys. You just got to know how to do it in a way that's respectful to everybody. Gillum didn't know how to do it in a way that didn't turn into a scandal. And that's what is the problem. But I do believe that if you truly are someone that is honest and open with all your partners, like what Brianna requests of her partners, then you won't have this problem. It's when you're lying that then it becomes a thing. And with this situation, for me though, I'm going to need a man that appreciates women too. Really appreciates women, and not just is doing this for the kicks and the giggles because I'm trans and you can find parts you like about me.
Well, I think if it was got to a relationship aspect for me, like for me, I need you to have experiences with trans women, because
Okay, so get you very specific, bitch.
Yeah, like if I'm pursuing you like a relationship, that's just like a foundation. I need 1 to 2 serious relationships with trans women. But I do have not like romantic relationships, but I do have like hookup partners where if we hook up over a period of time, like we're going to become friendly with each other. We're going to talk about each other and not create space. And I've had guys tell me a lot of different things, how they came to their trans attraction or whatever their journey was. And I just try to, because I know particularly Black men, they really don't get a lot of space to really talk about their sexuality in a way where they won't feel ostracized.
Mm-hmm.
When when it comes to me and my sexual experiences with guys I have that rapport with, I want to keep it like an open and like non-judgmental space, because no shade, that makes the session better when the person just feels free to say what they want and like really be honest about what, where they're coming from or why they like to do certain things. So I just like to, on a sexual hookup, like cyclical like relationship type thing, I like to keep those lines of communication open. But as far as a romantic relationship, the bar is way higher, only because like I'm just gonna tolerate less, and I need to know for you that a relationship with a trans woman is a viable option for you, and that's something that you're committed to doing, or at least you have demonstrated a commitment to doing it in the past.
Agreed. Agreed.
So I guess for our last topic to close this out, hopefully you guys are watching Lovecraft Country on HBO Max. It's a really good show. It's a just to sum the show up in a nutshell, because if you haven't watched it or you're not watching it, it's going to be hard for me, because every episode is so unique and it's different. It will be hard for me to explain the series as a whole, but in a nutshell, it's set in the 1950s, mainly in Chicago, and it's like a horror action series, but really the show is a commentary on the horrors of racism and white supremacy. There's monsters, there's secret societies, there's magic, and all of that going on. So in the last episode that aired on Sunday, called Strange Case, and spoilers alert, we'll be talking about some of the spoilers. There is a character in the show named Ruby Baptiste. She plays Letty's sister, who is played by Journey Smollett-Bell, and she's like a large, heavy-set, dark-skinned woman. She's a singer. She's a jazz singer, and her story arc, at least through the episodes that have aired, is she really wants to get a job in a department store downtown, but because this is the 1950s and racism was heavy, it's hard for her to. She's been rejected from this store multiple times because she is a Black woman. And early in the series, she talks about how, well, if I just work hard and do this and do that, then maybe it'll be enough. And when she went to apply again, she saw that they hired a Black woman. So it kind of sent her down this depression spell. So in this past week's episode, she meets a character, and he gives her like a magic potion, and basically what the magic potion is, she drinks it and it creates a second skin, but it's the second skin of a white woman. So the whole episode is about her drinking the spell, and it's a temporary spell, because once it wears off, her bones start to break back to her regular size, and then the skin like just peels off her body. But basically, the episode was a commentary on how, now that she has this white skin, just all of the privileges and freedoms that she gets to have as this white woman in 1950 Chicago. And she actually ends up going in with no experience, no education. She ends up going to the same department store that wouldn't hire her because she was Black. And she ends up not only getting a job, but getting a manager position. So she gets a manager position, and she hobnobs with all the white girls, and then finds out they really don't do shit. And then she finds out that the Black girl that they hired, she didn't even graduate. She only got up to the 7th grade, and she's not smart, and she don't know anything. And so basically, it was just a commentary on how whiteness is currency, and how her drinking this elixir, she was able to access a world that just on her own merits, she would never have been able to access.
Only for one night, tease, to quote Luther, if only for one night.
Right. So she got to access the world. But then when she got to access it, she got to see that all of that hard work that she said she needed to do, and how she had to pull herself up by her bootstraps, like, when you're white, none of that matters because you could just walk in the door and like get whatever you want. So by the end of the episode, she gets to the realization that she doesn't want any more of the magic potion, and she ends up raping the supervisor with a pump, and because he tried to rape the black girl. It was a lot of things going on in the episode.
Oh shit!
But it made me, so after the episode came on, somebody shared, the actress that plays Ruby Baptiste, she talked about her character, she talked about that episode in particular, and I shared it, and I was like, basically the gist of my post was like, I'm not even going to front, like, if there was an elixir for trans women to take where we could temporarily be cis and we get to move through the world as a black cis woman.
So the query, sis, is, would you take the elixir if there was an elixir that could change you right now from a trans to a cis woman, and you, with all the rights to ascertain, would you take the elixir?
Yeah, I would take it. I'm not gonna lie, I would take it. I would just want to, as much as I love being a trans woman, as much as I have worked to be comfortable in my skin and love myself, I'm not going to front like I wouldn't want to have that experience to see what it is like, to see, just to.
Would you take the elixir if it was permanent?
No, I wouldn't. Like, I can say that with certain. Even though it is overwhelming at times, I feel like being a LGBT person or a queer person, it gives us a level of discernment and awareness that I think that if I were cis, I would lack, and it would allow me to get into a lot of bad situations that would not be beneficial for me or would delay my growth or my understanding. I mean, yes, I will be able to I will be able to access men. I will be able to, join social organizations. I will be able to it would be easier for me to build those bonds with other cis women. I feel like I would have stronger relationships with my family because there wouldn't be that tension of my transness and my queerness. But I feel like being cis, you get to have this air of naivete. And just from my position and where I sit, a lot of that is detrimental to Black cis women. And being a queer person and having a position in life where you can see the bugs under the rock, I feel like a lot of times that has been my saving grace. Mm-hmm. Like it's been the reason why I can clock situations, especially with men, especially with a lot of the situations that men will try to gas you up and put you in. I feel like because of my position in life, I'm able to clock them quicker, and I'm able to react and move faster in order to save myself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like if I was cis, I would have the privilege to have the naivete, and it would just get me into a lot of trouble that I don't need. I just don't want to be in.
I agree. Yeah. So I think one thing that's very powerful that you said, and that's very true. I do see that we don't talk a lot about it, but there are benefits to being an individual, a woman, or even a female-minded individual. There's privilege in being able to listen to the fraternity of men talk about women from a woman's point of view. Even as a child, I've been in barbershops. My father is still very active in my life. I have, uncles, a slew of goddamn uncles. My mother has 8 brothers, and I was around them all of my life. So, but what I will say was the strength was not so much in the privilege that I got from being respected as a male-bodied individual, because I didn't really get a lot of respect because I showed up very feminine. And what we do know is a feminophobia still exists in men, towards men and women. Femininity is not something that's in society is seen as strong, and a lot of times it's patronized and minimized. And so I experienced a lot of that as a female, as a feminine bodied, a feminine spirited individual, I should say. I experienced a lot of the negativity of that part of it. But I will say, being the fact that I did participate in athletics, being that I have fathers and uncles and all that, I was able to sit and hear the fraternity of men and not get caught up in it, because I still felt like a woman inside, like a girl inside. So then I was able to sit at the table, and that is the most privileged place to be, in my opinion, is to be able to hear how men talk about women when women are not around. And when they don't, and I'm kind of like incognito, because they don't know I'm a girl inside. So then they're talking in my presence as they will talk to around any other group of men. And to hear how men talk about women has been the greatest privilege of my adult life, because it has kept me out of so much shit. You can't run it on me, boo. You can't run it on me. You know why? Because my daddy taught me to run this game on another girl, and I'm not that girl. You see what I'm saying? So you can't run that on me. I have uncles. I heard how they run the game. I was in the locker room with coaches and team basketball players and athletes and track, like, because I was athletic. So I was in the locker room when I heard y'all talking about girls. So you're not going to be able to run that game on me, bruh. I know what you're doing. And that sixth sense has saved me from a lot of shit. Now, as a trans person, it came at me really hard in a different way, because whereas women in society are protected, I wasn't. So then I'm a woman that has this knowledge, and I know how to engage with men in a way that gives me that I maneuver well around men. I maneuver very well around men as a woman, because I am comfortable having conversations with men on different levels. I do believe that skill was acquired from me being in athletic teams with men and learning how to bond with them. So I will attest that a part of my journey is that. But baby, listen, being vulnerable like that and being cis requires a level of because cis women are often protected from those conversations. So then they're entering the world with this energy and this knowledge of what a woman is that a man told them, or that a man told a mama and their mama told them. So now you're getting second and third hand information on what the lives of men are like, and you're being caught up in a lot of shit at a young age behind shit. And I did too, but I was still able to avoid some shit just because of that proximity. And that's a privilege. Now, I would not give that privilege up now, because I know what it gave me, and I think it makes me who I am today. And I while you were talking, sis, I was really debating. Like, there was a part of me that was still over here like, girl, I'm going to take that fucking pill, bitch. And the reason why I'm of two minds. I wouldn't take the pill at this age. I would not have taken the pill. I would not take the pill at this age, because I'm settled. Life worked out for me anyway. I was able to see the other side of the rainbow on that. But I'm going to keep it real, sis. If we just being real, and it wasn't about, and my life could reset and I could go through maybe like, I'm not going to lie. Younger, I would have took the pill. If I was 19 and being asked this question, I would have took the fucking pill without.
I probably would have took it younger too.
Yeah, I would have took it without question, because who wants, and this is the shade, who wants to live a life of being vilified? I mean, like, I remember when it was difficult to walk out my house and go through the neighborhood, because I had to be careful and look out my window to see who was going to be out there before I stepped outside, just because there were niggas that wanted to beat my ass on sight because of what I was. So just keeping it 100, like, it ain't no cakewalk being trans. And I saw someone online today post that being trans is depressing. And I wanted to type this long think piece, but then I thought about it. No, it fucking is. It is. It's depressing, because you know that in spite of your best efforts, in spite of everything that you do, tax-paying citizen, buying a house, buying a car, living your best life, being good to your friends, being a good sister, being a good daughter, being good to your people in your community, that somebody could see you somewhere and you could be beat the fuck up at a gas station. Somebody could find you, a trade could come to your house, and in spite of all the degrees and everything that we've accomplished as people, they could kill the fuck out of me. And the narrative would be, but she didn't tell, or what did she do to deserve it, or da 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 da. The same judgment that Black women get, but without any of the protection.
Right.
So no shade, sis. I would not blame no bitch for taking the pill. I would not only not take the pill because of where my life is now, but to be real, if there's still a part of me that wants to take the pill, and I would be debating it, and I might eat half the pill, bitch, because to be real, I still, as a woman now of a particular age and wanting to be a parent, it really bothers me that my decisions and my choices will probably mean that I won't have a biological child. And then I'm not talking about my transness. I'm just talking about the way I did it. This process, it's not realistic that I would be able to be a biological parent of any kind. And while I do think I am going to be a parent, and I do hope to one day become one, I would love to have had the experience. I'm the girl that actually would have loved to have my own child. And especially with my husband, I think he's handsome, and I think that we will make beautiful babies if only it were possible. Now, it is possible, but I don't want it that way, sis. I would prefer, because, they doing the transplanted wombs and stuff. I don't want nothing they got to cut back out of me. But if it were an opportunity for me to be a natal woman and to bear my husband's child, I would.
Yeah, no, sometimes I think about that too. I think about being able to conceive a child and carry, and just wanting to experience that, and what that would be like, or if and when I do get married, just being able to do that for my husband and expand our family.
Because especially when your man gonna make pretty babies, and then because there's a part of me that always still feels like, and that I want to see his genes carry on because they're good genes. And I feel guilt. There is a part of me that feels guilt that because of what I am, though, that won't happen. Now, I know that he loves me and he doesn't feel that way at all. He doesn't want biological children. He actually wants to adopt. His mother was a social worker. He's been ingrained. He understands the necessity. So he wants to adopt. That was always, but for me, I want to see him. I want to see what his little mini me's would look like, and I would love to be the person that could carry them if I could. And so that, because I love him that much, and I really think that he has good genes. I got a fine ass man and got good genes. I would love to see that pass on, but it is what it is, bitch. I'm trans. I ain't no pill to take, but bitch, if that pill could get me through 9-10 months of pregnancy, and maybe like a year on the pill, bitch, and I could have a baby, I would.
So you would take the pill?
I would, if it was temporary and I could get a year of my life to have a child from him, I would.
I think in my younger years I would take the pill, but where I am at now, I feel like
not even for a day you wouldn't take the pill.
For a day.
Oh, okay.
But as far as like my own transition, now, and not even with regards to my transition, but just with other aspects of my life, I'm really getting to the point where I'm comfortable. I'm getting comfortable, and I'm kind of like loosening up my anxiety that it doesn't have to look like how it looks like for everybody else, in reference to like my career, in reference to my romantic life, in reference to like my family. Also, I'm getting comfortable with the fact that just because it can take, it doesn't have to happen now. Like I'm not in a competition. I'm not in a rush. Like it can happen later. And I'm really getting comfortable with the idea that certain things, it can happen later and it's okay. It's not, it doesn't mean that I'm not keeping up with the rat race, or I'm not doing this when the next person is doing this. It'll happen when the time is right for it to happen. And I'm just getting comfortable with that in all areas of my life, not just like romantic and family, but just like my career and me making money. Like everything will happen when it's supposed to happen. But in the meantime, I am responsible for creating my own happiness. I am responsible for working through my own shit and working through my place in life, and where that I'm responsible for that in the meantime. While all of that, all of that is preordained and happening in the background. So yeah, I would take it for a day, but I think I know that as a trans person, I was chosen to walk this path, and each day I just grow comfortable with the fact that this is the path that I'm spiritually meant to go on, and it's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for everybody.
I will say yes. Now that's the truth. Now I do believe, and now see that's something to talk about, sis, because I do want to be the podcast that is honest about well, I think that trans is trending. I'm just keeping it real. I think
Right.
I think that there has always been trans people that existed, and many of us had to live below the surface, and those of us that didn't have access to medications and things or whatever, there was a lot of people who probably would have transitioned but just didn't see it as a viable option. So I'm not at all saying that every girl that's that's doing it is doing it for the trend. But I do believe that there are people that think that this life is a crystal staircase, bitch.
No.
And they are completely mistaken. And anybody that is thinking that you're going to be trans and it's going to be some fabulous journey into the gay queer community, and
it's hard, bitch.
You're going to dance and twirl your way to success, bitch. I promise you're going to lose everything and wonder what the fuck happened before you get it back. And it's no shade, but when you really, really buck the paradigm, because it's different than even being gay. And so for our gay L, G, and B members of community that are on here right now, the G, L, and the B, y'all think y'all know, but y'all have no fucking idea. Like the idea, there is a loss, a real loss, because because unlike when you're gay, your parents still feel like they have a child. Our parents go through this weird twisted thing where they feel like they got to carry a torch for something that we're killing off. Like we're not still here. Right. And they end up having to like forgive us and like love this new person. And that journey to people, and everybody's not going to do that. Everybody's not willing to make that transition with you. And we often end up losing a lot of shit. And I'm not saying that G and the L and the B don't lose shit, but I'm saying when your identity shifts, everybody, including some of my LGBT friend, LG and G and B friends, some of y'all are even resistant to accept the girl's identity when it changes. Because even to y'all, there's a part of community that still feels like that is just doing the most. And I want to speak to that in this moment because I do believe that trans is trending. I do believe that there are a lot of people that for whatever reason, whether they be having like emotional issues in their life, identity issues, you can have an identity crisis and it not be your gender. You can have issues and it not be related to necessarily, you can have a gender, a dysphoria, even a body dysphoria and not be a transsexual. And I think the paths to being trans are unique and different, and there's queerness in transness. But I do believe that being a transsexual is held up as this monolith, this high place that everybody's trying to reach. And I feel like a lot of girls would probably benefit from being a different part of the trans spectrum. How many girls, there's a lot of girls that I honestly think that the only way to be trans is to be a transsexual, and they're not giving them a chance to experience what it would be like to be non-binary or a queer trans woman or queer in your expression, or to exist in the in-between. That wasn't an identity that we had access to. And so I don't know what life would have been like if I was told that I could be whatever I want to be. That wasn't the case for me, but I don't want these young girls to feel like they have to go and get bags just because they started a process, because it's trending and it's easy to do now.
Right. No, but this walk is not for everybody. And again, going back to the Andrew Gillum situation, you really have to take time to sit with yourself, because you're just going to go through a lot. you're going to go through a lot, and you just have to sit with the pain and the loss and all of that, and just know that the journey you're on is not, everybody's not going to understand it. And it's not going to fit into the cis straight patriarchal timeline of you go to school, find your husband or your wife or your spouse, get married, have it's not going to be this traditional linear timeline. Or even if you get married, it's not going to look like your cishet counterparts. And just being open to the fact that we kind of have to do stuff differently. And is it a burden? Yes, because the world is not set up to create space for us. But if you don't want to go crazy and you don't want to have the anxiety of feeling like you have to conform if that's not who you want to do, you really have to take the time out to really unpack and unravel and process and really to define and affirm who you are on your terms. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we've talked a lot. So I think we were going to end it here.
Yes. And so before we go, I would just like to say thank you for tuning in to Box Number 512 Podcast, Grown Black Trans Woman Talk. We thank you for all of your patronage and support of all of our efforts as we grow, as we evolve, as we develop. We would love it if you would take an opportunity, though, to go to our social media pages. I am at ATL Lioness. You can also find us at Box Number 512 Podcast. If you want to follow Brianna individually, you can follow her at Brianna J. Esquire on Facebook. But also, don't forget, we have a Facebook page that you can also follow and like and get notifications so you can follow all of our content. As we're transitioning, we're going to be doing our lives a bit differently. There will be a longer time between lives, and we'll announce that scheduling. We're both very busy right now and active with our different ventures. And so for those of you who enjoyed that aspect, it will not go away. And we ask that you just stay tuned. Follow and like us on our pages to find out the dates for when we will have our upcoming live after shows. We're thinking about doing them around once a month. So stay tuned for that wonderful information. And last but certainly not least, please go onto our Anchor page at anchorfm.com and go and follow that, find that donation button. And if you would want to support a Black trans business, if you want to support Grassroots, the home team, go onto Anchor and please donate. And every donation will be greatly appreciated. We thank you for your time today. And we thank you for your patronage and your support going forward. And I'm so grateful for this moment to have an opportunity to talk with Brianna today about these topics. And we just look forward to you guys in the future being a part of the conversation. This is the Lioness. Thank you for tuning in to Box Number 512 Podcast. And again, I'm the Lioness.
And I'm Aeon.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Box Number 512 Podcast.
Grown Black Trans Woman Talk.
Don't forget to go to our Anchor page to become a monthly sponsor.
And also feel free to like, follow, and subscribe to us on all of our social media platforms.
And also, please don't forget to rate and review our podcast. Every comment matters.
And lastly, please follow and tune in for our live interactive Facebook show every Friday
on Facebook and YouTube. Until next time,
I'm the Lioness.
And I'm Aeon. Bye.